And back to Twitter now. The Twitter has for the first time flagged and hidden a tweet by the United States President Donald Trump saying he violated the rules about glorifying violence. And swiftly, Donald Trump took to Twitter early this morning saying, quote, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts," in reference to the nationwide protest that has followed the deadly arrest of George Floyd and an armed black man in Minneapolis. Let's bring you shots of that tweet by the U.S. president. But in Ghana, social media has been replete with reactions from Donald Trump, with some wondering whether these could have some effect on the 2020 general elections going forward. Joining us via Zoom is Kwame Ahiabenu, a tech innovation expert, to look at the implications of the Twitter action on content posted on Twitter. Thank you very much for joining us, Kwame, on this issue. Now, in the first place, why did Twitter take the action against President Trump? Hello, Mr. Ahiabenu, if you can hear me, why would Twitter take such an action against the U.S. President, Donald Trump? Well, we seem to be having some issues with the connection there, but on your screen right now is the tweet from Donald Trump. It says, "I can't stand back and watch this happen to a great American city, Minneapolis." It continues to make some comments that Twitter was not exactly happy with. It says that a total lack of leadership, either the very weak radical left mayor Jacob Frey get his act together and bring the city under control, or I will send in the National Guard and get the job done right. All right, so that was the initial tweet by Donald Trump, and then there was another one. But let's go to Zoom now and speak to Kwame Ahiabenu, who is a tech expert. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us once again. So I was wondering why Twitter would take such a decision against such a powerful man, the U.S. President, Donald Trump.
Thanks very much, and good morning. Basically, if you join Twitter or any social media account, you have terms and conditions that you sign up to. For Twitter, they have clear guidelines as to what content you can post, and when you post the content, what action they can take on such a content. So in the case of President Donald Trump, he violated two of Twitter's conditions when it comes to posting content. One of them was that the issue that he put on his Twitter handle was not true, so it was fact check. The other one was that he was trying to incite violence. And usually, Twitter guidelines even say that such content should not only be blocked, but the account should be deleted. But I think they made an exception not to delete Donald Trump's account.
Now, how does this affect the ethical use of Twitter and other social media platforms?
Ethics is a function of things you can do or you cannot do. So if you sign up to on a social media handle and they state out their guidelines quite clearly, you have to decide that, look, do I want to be part and parcel of this? You have to remember that for social media, the company as Twitter has certain responsibility. The users also have some responsibility at play. Now, if you want to be ethical, then you're obligated to follow the guidelines. And that will ensure that we have ethical use of such a platform. So for me, it goes a long way to reinforce the fact that Twitter took a decision to ensure that its ethics, so to speak, are followed. Some people may argue against those guidelines, but they follow what they wanted to do on their platform.
And we know that Trump is a high-profile personality, and such people have their account usually verified. His account is verified. Does Twitter and other social media platforms expect extra circumspection from such account holders?
Twitter, for example, had a big issue with their verification process. So it later turned out that some verifiable accounts were not even legit. So that's a different discussion. Yes, verification is to say that, look, this account belongs to the President of the United States, and we have verified that is the true personality behind the Twitter account, because people can create a social media handle and assume the characteristic of the President of US. But what we have to note is that the verification process does not mean that the content that will come out from the verified account is legit, or it may not contain content which may be inappropriate. So verification is just to say that, look, this account belongs to multimedia, and we verify that content coming from the account comes from multimedia. But it does not go beyond to do editorial stuff, which is the content coming from multimedia legit? Is it fake news or otherwise?
How does this work? Would Twitter, does Twitter have a way of finding out these posts by themselves, by the system, or that it will take a report from somebody to draw the attention to this? Because I'm sure that there may have been, similar posts reacting in similar manner and similar fashion like Trump did, but may still be on there.
So it's happening in two ways. Twitter's organization running their social media company have the ability to see what content is shared on their platform. But more importantly, users such as you and I can actually send messages to Twitter to complain about a certain post. And so I believe that most of this will come from users who feel that this content is inappropriate, who feels that the content may not be correct, and they will send that feedback to Twitter. Now, Twitter will not take that content as a red flag and verify it. Based on their independent assessment, if they believe that the content does not follow their guidelines, then they will take the action appropriate to the content that was posted.
Let's come here to Ghana. How can this influence the system here in Ghana, the local scene, as we approach election 2020?
Now, this is very interesting. U.S. is a very powerful country, and a lot of people look up to U.S. Now, remember what Donald Trump did after the action by Twitter was to sign an executive instrument, which effectively removed the protection that the social media companies have. Let me explain. Basically, the social media companies in U.S. where this law is applicable have a protection that says that they cannot be held liable for content that is posted on their network. In that sense, when I post a content which is maybe not correct and all that, I will be held responsible for that content, not Twitter per se. So what Donald Trump did was that he signed an executive instrument effectively removing that protection. And that is not a very good practice. And other countries that look up to US or want to put up bad behavior and want to use the evidence from US as an example, then we have a problem with this action of President Donald Trump in signing the executive instrument. For me, I think it's important to realize that social media is a very important and powerful tool for any democracy or any striving society. So we have to ensure that we have responsible usage of it. But at the same time, we should not allow government or institutions to try to prevent free speech on it. And Donald Trump action point to a bad example of what not to do when it comes to allowing freedom on those platforms in a responsible manner, if I want to add that.
And we are wrapping up on this, but we have an election coming up. How should this guide us as we approach election 2020? You have a lot of politically exposed persons who could be posting similar things on social media, not just on Twitter, but all the other platforms. How should we be guided?
Remember, at some point in time during one of our elections, the IGP wanted to ban social media. Unfortunately, some of this irresponsible use of social media may lead for people calling for a ban. But for me, it's important for the media, civil society artists, other artists in the political space, constantly keep on looking at the space to watch out for activities that will prevent people from expressing their freedom of speech on social media account. So for me, there is an important role that we all have to play. We have to be responsible when it comes to social media usage, but more importantly also, we have to realize that the state does not have that authority just to try to block that right. So for me, it's a constant engagement. We have to monitor the space. We have to ensure that we can keep the social media space free from any harassment or any untold government, control, which will mean that we cannot have free speech on social media.
Thank you very much, Kwame Ahiabedu. He is a tech innovation